Hey, this is Dr. Bartolomescu, the medical futurist. And as always, I have a few book recommendations for you. The last time I showed you 5 books about futuristic studies and the future of medicine and healthcare, but this time I focus on science fiction. I spend an awful lot of time going through reviews and online recommendations, trying to find out which books to read next, and every single night before going to bed, I read science fiction to keep my mind sharp and fresh, full of ideas about the near future. And science fiction is a major source of inspiration for me, so these have been the 5 books I've enjoyed the most reading in 2022 so far. I have a few more books on my shelf waiting for me to read them, but let's see these 5 books first. Synoptican, a celebration of Chinese science fiction. These days I love reading about 2 things. One, science fiction short stories, so this way you don't have to commit to reading a huge book, but you can just get glimpses about the future through short stories, and cultural science fiction, to learn about certain populational culture based on how some of their respected authors think about their near or long-term future. Synopticon is exactly that, both of them actually, as a collection of short science fiction stories and talking about the Chinese culture. That's the first time for me reading from Chinese authors in the form of short stories, and I enjoyed reading these stories immensely. So I recommend that book very much to you all. The second book I want to show to you is also a collection of science fiction short stories from singer, songwriter, actor, fashion icon, futurist and worldwide superstar Janelle Monáe. She and some collaborators put together this collection of stories, and the title is The Memory and Other Stories of Dirty Computer Librarian. And some of these, I think, belong to Afrofuturism, the long-term future of the African continent and its population, its culture. And to do that through science fiction short stories, again, it's a part of cultural science fiction. And I've enjoyed reading these science fiction short stories, so I recommend this book to you as well. The third one is not a collection, but one novel. Literally the best science fiction story I've read maybe over the last few years. It's called The Body Scout from Lincoln Michel. And I was so angry at that book and the author because I wasn't the person writing this book. It combines 2 things, 2 of my favorite topics of all: cybernetics, the future of humanity, and baseball. It's about a baseball scout in a midterm future, which is not even this topic. Of course, some things are a bit worse than today's, some things are a bit better, but he depicts a reliable, realistic kind of future. So not just seeing the world as he describes it is exciting, but the story and I think his writing style are simply excellent. So this is my absolute top recommendation for you for 2022, The Body Scout. The fourth one, surprise, is also a collection of not so short, but short and mid-range stories, The Lost Words and Mythological Kingdoms, edited by John Joseph Adams. The reason why I bought this book was that it features authors such as Ken Liu, Cadwell Turnbull, Becky Chambers. And the book is not only about science fiction stories, it also features stories about mythologies or maybe fantasy. But those science fiction stories that I enjoyed the most were coming from my favorite authors. So I had to get this book to read stories, otherwise I couldn't read from these amazing authors just in this edited book. And the last recommendation is, speaking of Becky Chambers, who I have been talking about on this channel for so long, and I would read anything from Becky Chambers, even cookbooks, is a book from her called A Psalm for the Wild Built. It's an incredibly unique story, just always coming from the pen of Becky Chambers, about literally a tea monk who comes across a robot that asks one question: what do people need? And of course the answer is not so simple to that question, and the robot has to ask that question many times to make sure they can get the right answer. I think that's enough. It was written by Becky Chambers. I shouldn't even say anything else about it, but it's a very unique, very interesting story about a tea monk and a robot in a post-apocalyptic, maybe a little bit dystopic world. So I think it's a good recommendation. As I love giving you recommendations, I also love getting recommendations from you, as you always do in the comment section below this video. So please keep on sending me science fiction or short story or collection book recommendation, because I'm enjoying reading them and I always look for the new one. So thank you so much for your recommendations and thank you for watching the video. If you like this video, please subscribe below so you will get notified about all the videos we come up with. Plus, please check out the digitalhealthcourse.com, the platform where you can learn all the things around digital health and the future of healthcare.